Hello, and welcome to day 2 of the Consistently Creative Challenge. My name is DJ Reynuka, and I'm so glad you're here. I'm an actor and a filmmaker, and I've been teaching and creating art programs for underserved youth for 20 years. And this challenge is meant to help you create a creative practice and hit the ground running in 2024 so that you can create the things that God is telling you to create. Today, I want to talk about a creative practice. What is it and why is it important? What are the benefits? And so, in this challenge, it's about laying the groundwork and understanding creativity better so that you can be consistent with it. I think these are the tools that I've developed over the years, understanding. So, when I come up to roadblocks or resistance, that I understand kind of what's happening and how to overcome it, and understand like when I actually do need to take a break or when it's something else. So I'm going to read this definition. A creative practice is how you intentionally approach your work. It's your unique way of working that supports your creative identity while also creating room for expression. So it's this intentional way that you approach your work as a creative. It's the way that you think about your art. Like, what does it mean? Why do you do it? It's the process in which that you come to your art. Whatever it is, whether it's writing a song or writing a script, it's the process that you take this idea and cultivate it, as we talked about yesterday. So you can have a seed of an idea, but you need to be able to cultivate it and have a process to do so, because you could just get this great idea for this movie, this story idea, and you might just get a scene or like a character, and you have to cultivate that thing into the actual product that you want to see. It's the meaning of your art to yourself and to others. It's the way that you might research your work. It's how you are inspired. It's how your creativity integrates into the rest of your life as well. For example, when I'm out somewhere, I'm very open to hearing how people speak, because when I write a script, I want my dialogue to seem realistic. So I pay attention to how people speak. I pay attention to unique characters out there, unique people with unique perspectives. Like, I take that in. So that's how my creative practice like infiltrates other parts of my life. I pay attention when I'm having conversations, and if something sparks an idea or I make a connection to something out there in my life that has to do with a piece that I'm working on. That happens all the time. If I'm stuck on a script and I'm out doing something or I read something, I'm like, oh, that would work really good for this character. And later on, we're going to talk about the creative process and how it works psychologically. And then once you know that, I think it's going to be so powerful for you. So now that you know what a creative practice is, I want to talk to you about the benefits of having a creative practice. One of the biggest benefits of having a creative practice is it helps you to feel less overwhelmed, because you'll have a process for taking an idea, like we talked about earlier, and actually cultivating it and working on it. And when you have a practice, that means you know you're going to show up at a certain time every day consistently to have time to cultivate it. You know, you need time to focus, to do some research. Like, if you have the story idea and it's set in another time period, well, you need to research that time period and you need time to do that. So you know that you have the space to show up to every day and work on that seed of an idea and to make it grow and to understand it and to help it mature. And having a creative practice means that you have a container or a space for that. That means that I have an idea and I'm not going to just write it in a journal and put that journal away and never look at it again. And it fills up with all these ideas that you never do anything about. But it actually helps you take that idea and do something with it. And so that's what I'm trying to help you do with this challenge, is to create that space so that you can come to it every time and grow it. It also helps you to find your artistic voice. So, the more that you're working on something, the better you are going to get to understand what resonates with you, what do you feel aligned with, and what resonates with other people. And doing art is not just about you. A big part of it is about you and what makes you happy and expressing something. And also the fact that as creatives, we have this need and this desire to kind of create and make things, and it's something you can't help, and it's something that if you don't do it you can feel really down and depressed and like you're dying inside. And then when you create, it gives you life and it makes you happy and joyful. And even the process can be rough and hard sometimes, but it's like you're doing what you were meant to do, and that's create. So being consistent allows you to adjust your work or integrate things in your life into your work. As you grow and mature and gain more knowledge and wisdom, you can see that your work can grow. And I specifically remember as a younger filmmaker, the stories that I was coming up with, there came a point where I knew I wanted to create deeper stories, more meaningful stories. And that meant I had to start researching things. I had to start learning about different things more, especially about psychology and mental health and history. And the more that I learn, the more richer and layered my work has become, and the more fulfilling the work has become for me. And that I know that I'm creating work that can make more of an impact because I'm learning about so many things and I'm growing as a person. I learn more about life and humanity and how things actually work. And so when I'm creating my characters, they're more well rounded, my dialogue is better, and it's not so two dimensional. But that's just growth and experience. When you start out, you might be like, oh, I like the sound of that musician. I like their style. And so the things you might create are going to be a little bit based off of the style of the person that you enjoy, which is totally fine. But the more you do it, the more you're going to discover your own unique style. And that person that you love listening to so much, it's because they've developed their style over time. And so it just takes time to do that. And so when you have a creative practice, that means you're always working on it and you're always growing and developing. The more you do that, the more unique that style is to you, and you will become known for it. And so when you're ready to go to the next level and people can understand, like, okay, when I see a movie by this person, like, or when I see a movie, I know it's by this person. We can say that about Christopher Nolan. Like he has a style. For those of you who don't know, he does like very heady things like Inception or Interstellar. And I hope I'm not like giving the wrong credit, but I think that's Christopher Nolan. Or Michael Bay. People say he loves to make things blow up. My husband, he is a musician, but he has a very distinct style with his music, and he's been doing it for 30 years, music. And so when I hear something, um, I just know that it's his style. Having a creative practice also builds self trust, which is so important as a creative and as an artist. Is so powerful to have self trust. That means that you know that when you have an idea, you can take it from the beginning until the end. When God gives you something to do, that you can take that assignment and you can actually work on it and you can actually complete it. It's really wonderful to know that you can trust yourself, because when you can't, it feels really bad. It feels terrible to say, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, and you don't have a process. You don't even have a way to get it done. And so it takes time, because if you want to write a book, you have to learn, how does that work? How do people write books? So if you have a practice and space, if it's 30 minutes a day, you can take the first 30 minutes and research how to publish a book. And then the next day you want to how to outline a book. And then the next day is, okay, I'm going to start on the first chapter. And then you see what I'm saying? You can have time like, oh, I need to hire a book coach. And you take that 30 minutes and you research. So you're having these blocks of time where you can actually take action on your projects, and then you start building that trust within yourself, and then that leads into something wonderful, is that other people will trust you as well, and you don't have that imposter syndrome because you know that you have a process and you know that you can work on an idea from start to finish. So, for example, for me, in the beginning, I wanted to make movies and I just dreamt about it and I believed in it and I said it. But if someone had asked me to make a film, I would have had like no idea and complete imposter syndrome. But it started out with me making YouTube videos. So I made hundreds of YouTube videos, and then people would ask me to kind of film some things for them. And then I started to make short films because I had made so many YouTube videos. And that was a different level of work. But through making some short films, people started to know that. And I started to get asked to do bigger projects. And then nonprofits started to ask me, can you make a film for us? And so I started growing from being consistent with my YouTube videos to making some short films and then growing from there. But you see what I'm saying? As a practice, it helps you to grow, build your skill set, get known for what you're doing, and have more and more opportunities. But you have this practice. So when you're showing up to these opportunities, it's like you're in shape for it. You know what I'm saying? It's like you wouldn't go run a race at a competition and you didn't train for it. You want to be ready for it. As the saying goes, you want to stay ready so you don't have to get ready. There's other benefits to having a creative practice. Like studies show that it actually lowers stress, it boosts your mood because you're doing something fun and creative and you're getting to express yourself and express the emotions instead of keeping things inside. I remember I had this term I would joke with my husband, saying I felt creatively constipated because I knew that I needed to express something out of myself and I couldn't do it all the time. And so I remember when I started blogging, oh, it was so wonderful just to express my thoughts out into the world. And it was more than just writing for myself, but like writing for community. And that's how I was expressing myself. And then making YouTube videos was such a great way to express myself. And it was such a wonderful hobby, especially when I was home with the kids. And like all my day was about these kids, a little kid, and I really enjoy being at home with them, but it was like I needed something for myself. And so, and it was this place online where I used to joke where the kids, they can't get in there and they can't mess it up because it's my space online with my blog and it's mine. Likewise, it feels really good to be able to work on the things that are in your heart, that are they're sitting there burning on your heart for months or years. And that's why a creative practice is so important. The joy that comes with creating, it's hard to explain, it really is. I also used to do a lot of crafting, and it just made me so happy, and it would just help alleviate the anxiety that I had. And there's lots of videos on this channel that you can find some playlists of the crafts I used to make. And I've been thinking about getting back into it as well, just as a way to relieve stress. It's such a wonderful thing. And I think it's so important for everyone. Not being able to express yourself is so detrimental. It can lead to depression and just frustration and bitterness and anger. I don't know if you know this story, but Hitler was an artist and he didn't go that direction. He didn't get into art school. To me, I always wonder, I'm like, what if he had just been able to express like whatever was inside of him in a healthy way? You know, would he have been different? So that's kind of an extreme example, but it's it is important, just even as young people and adults, everyone needs a place of expression. I think it's a gift from God to do that. And like we talked about yesterday, it's innately who we're created to be as human beings. It's our God work. And so whether you want to create as a business or you want to create as a hobby, creating it's who we are, being creative beings. And so having a creative practice where you can do that over and over again, where it's like 30 minutes of a dance class, and how wonderful you could feel after you do that. That's what I'm saying, it's so important. Also, I want to say that having a creative practice builds your tenacity and your perseverance. And I think that leads into your self trust. I remember I used to make handmade cards, and I'd be working on a design, and sometimes it just wouldn't work, and it would take me a whole hour to come up with a design. But it really taught me something, that if I don't give up, that I will eventually find it. And it happened every single time. And so eventually I stopped getting so upset when I couldn't figure out the design. I was like, oh, I'll figure it out eventually. I'll just keep working and rearranging, and maybe like going out into different places to get inspiration and coming back. And 100% of the time I would figure out the design. It taught me a lesson, and I take that lesson into filmmaking as well. Filmmaking is basically figuring out a series of problems. Because I was able to do that and have trust with myself that I can figure this out, it went over into filmmaking, which is what I do as a profession now. And lastly, I want to say the beautiful thing about a creative practice is taking something unseen and going through the process of making it seen. Because if you really think about it, it's kind of like divine work. Because if I have an idea in my head, like a story, and it still gets me to this day, if I have a story or something I wrote, and then I go on set and I hear people saying the lines that I wrote, and then I go to the theater and I see the thing that was in my head on the screen, and I'm experiencing with people in real life. It's crazy. It's so amazing to make something from the unseen world and make it seen. It's amazing. Like yesterday, we talked about when God created the heavens and the earth, and he was making these unseen things seen. For him, he's taking like things that don't exist and making things exist. I'm making a movie with a camera that exists and lighting that exists and things like that. But in a way, it's that same work of taking something unseen that was in my head and making it seen. And there's a psychologist, Dr. Jordan Peterson, and he kind of describes art as a window into the transcendent. And he describes it like very poetically, like stumbling towards the kingdom of God. Beautiful art is so transcendent. Art in general is something that can touch you deeply. I had a pastor that used to say art was like light seeds, and it could get into the cracks of people. And that's what's so beautiful about things that are kind of abstract, and things that it's more about a feeling, and that opens a door into your thinking, and we get to be a part of that. And so I really want to encourage you to keep going with these 40 days, and listen to these lessons and take them in and develop a practice for yourself, because it's not just about us, it's about the people that are connected to us. And there's people that are going to resonate with the thing that God's telling you to create. And he's thinking about them when he's asking you to take this unseen thing and make it seen. And it's benefiting you in the ways we talked about, and it's going to benefit other people as well. So I really want to see you create that good work and put it out into the world. So today's assignment is really the journal prompt. I want you to think about everything that we talked about, and I want you to kind of write about one thing that resonated with you today about why a creative practice is important. So I want you to write, why is it important to you? Why is a creative practice important to you? So that's your assignment for today. Thank you so much for listening. I'm so glad that you are here with me today. If you're listening to this and you're not a part of the challenge, you can look at the description box below. You can sign up for the challenge. You'll receive a welcome email with a downloadable, fillable habit tracker / calendar that you can check off. Like, I watched the video, I did the assignment, I did the journal prompt, and join the family, join what we're doing, so you can hit the ground running next year with your creative practice. And let that be the year that you're saying, I'm doing what God's telling me to do. Okay, thank you. Bye.